Hello, my name is Kate Stewart, and I'm VP for Dependable Embedded Systems here at the Linux Foundation. And I'd like to talk to you today a little bit about some of the considerations we're looking at for when we need to extend security to those various resource-constrained devices for be it power, size, space, time. So I want to focus a little bit today on what we're doing with Zephyr so that you have a bit of a feel for one of the options that's out there now. Zephyr project started about 5 years ago, and it was started in mind to be a RTOS that we could use in safety and secure applications that require the security. It's cross-architecture, it's very modular, it is vendor neutral, and so no one company controls it, and it has a permissive license, which makes it fairly easy to integrate with a lot of other open source projects out there. Obviously, one of the architectures that's supported here is RISC-V. We have both 32 and 64-bit hardware supported. And there are now a wide range of products that are out there. This is just a handful of them. But of course, with embedded, it's always an interesting challenge to find them. So we do have a variety of support out there. And there's over 250 boards that are in our repo and have been populated. So, and there's about 8 of them are RISC-V at this point in time. So there are options out there to start from, and obviously we'd love to see more RISC-V boards going in there. The architecture, Zephyr is more than just a kernel. There's actually a fairly wide and complete range now of communication stacks associated with it, as well as libraries and support for crypto and interfacing with the various hardware and sensors and so forth. So most applications are now able to cover, and if you're not, obviously we'd welcome contributions of things that are missing and going from there. But I think, the Bluetooth stack in particular, as well as OpenThread, all of these are very robust and well tested. And we are tracking the latest of what's happening with these emerging standards upstream. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of change. We're seeing about 1 change per hour, actually, right now in Zephyr. And this isn't necessarily the type of pace that product makers want to keep tracking and so forth. So we have a development branch, or our main branch, that has, all the new features, what's latest and so forth. And it comes up with a release every 4 months. And then every 2 years, we come out with our long-term support version, or stable. And we are going to be coming up with the LTS towards the end of this year. And the last one was about a year and a half ago. So every 2-year cadence is what we're trying for. Now, the LTS, it's important to understand that this is for products. It's not the latest bleeding edge, but we are keeping it up to date with security. And it is compatible for new hardware. So if you're looking at creating a product and the features that are in the LTS are what you need, it's a good option. Because we do put out maintenance releases on this one and make it visible and specifically fix these vulnerabilities as we find them, as well as fixing bugs that people have reported and want to see sorted. Now, when we started the project off, we actually started off with a security committee right at the very start. And they've been meeting every 2 weeks for the last 5 years. Our secure coding practices have been documented, and we are a registered CVE numbering authority with MITRE, and are doing all that we can in terms of following industry best practices, like having a PCERT team, and then publicly defining our practices, being very transparent about what we're doing in the project. And then obviously, as much as we possibly can we're leveraging automation so that we can prevent regressions. So I'd encourage you to go take a look at our project security documentation. We continue to refine it. We consider it more of a process. So if you see something that doesn't quite make sense or you want some clarification, please open an issue. This is the type of thing that, feedback helps us improve. And one of the things we are proud of in the project is we are one of the few open source projects that's directly a CVE numbering authority. So we do manage our own vulnerabilities with our PCERT team. And you can go to MITRE's site and you can see the Zephyr project there. And you can read our disclosure policy and what we've done in terms of the advisories we've issued and so forth. The processes for Zephyr, again, are well documented. You can find them right from our main website. We actually have received bulk vulnerability reports from CNN Group last year. We've got another we're working on right now. And you know, when we first got our first one last year, one of the things we've did was we recognized we probably needed to adjust some of our embargo periods, and then continue to refine the processes. Now that report found 26 issues. Everything has been fixed, and since the embargo is now updated, the report's out there, and you can read it yourself. Go out there, look at it, and see what was fixed, and see what is the current stat. But we did issue those, and we actually did backport a lot of those fixes into our LTS. So most of those were a good learning experience for us. The embargo window increased as a result because we recognized that vendors needed more time to fix anything that the team fixed. So we've got 30 days for the team to fix an issue, and then another 60 days for product makers to be able to address appropriately before vulnerabilities come out now. And we'll continue to improve the process. It's a journey. It's not an end point here with security. And so if you've got, if you want to know more details about that, happy to talk to people. And if you do have a product with Zephyr already and you want to be notified about the vulnerabilities, it's free to register if you've got a product. So you just need to point us to your website, and you can then get signed up to be added onto the alert registry. And so, we've got this service out there for, people who are using our code. One of the other things that for people who are using our code and they're curious about processes, we've been very transparent about documenting the processes. We actually were one of the core infrastructure initiatives first gold badge holders. We weren't the first, but we were up there pretty close. And we've had this now for a couple of years, and we continue to refine the processes in the project and publicly document them, so that if you're interested in what's happening on security or quality sides, there is information there that you can consult to understand what's in place and then move from there. All of this focus on security means that we are ready to respond now when there are concerns like the project actually issued an advisory in response to Amnesia 33 because the FNet component was used in the LTS. However, it was not used. The parts that were impacted by the 33, none of those were part that were in actually our code. If there had been, we would have issued a fix associated with it and shared it out, but we weren't impacted. And certainly we had changed our stack since then. So the 2.4, current 2.4, now 2.5 release is not impacted by Amnesia 33. But we are actively monitoring, and when there's no way of telling people that you're clean, we actually just put a blog post out to make it clear that if people were curious, that Zephyr was not impacted and that we had done the right level of analysis and due diligence. So I guess in conclusion, software security hacks and supply chain attacks are not going to be going away. And we don't quite know what people are going to find tomorrow. So being a good monitoring citizen and following best practices is probably the best path. And so this is what we're doing. Resource-constrained devices like the IoT endpoints, the sensors, the actuators, as well as firmware and servers, and FPGAs for that matter. All of these could become vulnerable over time, and so adopting best practices and following best practices seems the prudent thing to do at this point. So I guess what I encourage you to do is, if you're looking at projects, make sure you're looking for some of these points I've gone through. And for resource-constrained RISC-V devices that care about security, please consider using Zephyr RTOS. And if you've got any questions, happy to just reach out, and happy to hook you into the community and point you to further information. Thank you.
Yep, you're muted, or you're unmuted.
Yep, unmuted. Does anyone have any questions? I'm not seeing anything in the chat, but hopefully that was of interest. Okay, well, I'll hang around here in the chat for a while longer, and you guys can go on to the next one then.
Okay, thanks so much, Kate. Great to have you.